Hello, my name is Jason Chastain, and I'm going to talk about the trends, issues, and future applications that I learned about during my health education focus of study. Okay. First of all, the first trend that I had read about and learned about was that there was an increased interest in health and well-being or health and wellness among many people after isolation from the pandemic. And my wife and I noticed that there was a noticeable increase of members and patrons at the Planet Fitness where we worked out. The numbers seemed to increase greatly after everyone was able to go back to the gym, more so than what it was before the pandemic. One example of this was in Charleston, West Virginia, where a YMCA experienced a 20% increase in members since November of 2021. And I also found that there had been an overall increase in fitness center visits by Americans of around 10% since 2020. The second trend or issue that I have been learning about and reading about and researching is that health educators, we have a really tough task. Seems like health educators have less time to impact students, and this is especially true in Georgia where I work. Our high school students only have to take one semester of physical education and one semester of health education, and I think this is a problem. I feel like students should be required to take at least one semester of physical education every year, but that is not the case right now in Georgia. And I think that is detrimental to students as they move into college. And what I found in one study by Berner and several others was that college students who participated in high school physical education classes and also sports had lower body fat percentages and lower triglycerides than those who did not participate in physical activities during high school. So I feel like if students can be encouraged throughout high school to be physically fit and to have good health choices, then they'll be more likely to carry that on into college. The next trend that I learned a lot about, especially when I was doing the literature review for my dissertation, was the obesity epidemic. Obesity is now a global, worldwide issue. There's really no signs of it slowing down. A lot of things have been put into place to try to prevent obesity or reduce the problems from obesity, but the problem is still growing. Um, One author, McCarthy, believed that the food industry has a lot to do with that in promoting these unhealthy processed foods, and those, as I learned, contribute greatly to the obesity epidemic and to anyone who eats those unprocessed or those heavily processed foods are more likely to have health issues or be overweight. Um, in my opinion, the obesity epidemic needs to be addressed in schools first, and then of course through healthcare providers, and then also very importantly is through policymakers like politicians who can have some sort of impact on leading to some sort of policy or I don't know, rules, laws, things that can help in some way with the maybe health education, and maybe even with food choices for some people. The public needs further education on these causes of obesity, health problems associated with obesity, and the actions needed to avoid or combat obesity. So, education is a big thing, not just in schools, but also for adults and out in public, so that people know more about the problem and how to prevent it. Next thing that I learned a lot about, and this was unexpected when I got into the health and wellness, I was expecting it to be more about health education in schools, but as I learned early on, it had a lot to do with the healthcare industry as well, doctors and nurses and hospitals and things of that nature. And one of the things I learned a lot about was health information technology, which I knew that it existed, but I didn't really know that it had a name or whatever. I mean, I'd seen nurses and doctors typing on computers and putting information in, but I didn't realize how deep that was. I learned a great deal about the HIT since the beginning of this FOCUS study. It's growing rapidly and has a lot of really good potential to benefit the healthcare industry. It is driven by desire and need of the healthcare providers to achieve high quality healthcare, lower cost, and create a healthy population. Other drivers of HIT are assessing delivery of health services, efficiency of data collection and storage, and improving accuracy of information, which is very important, obviously, for patients and doctors. One author stated that HIT modernizes health infrastructure to make certain individuals, providers, and communities so that they can use this valuable technology to help achieve health and wellness goals. Next, as far as future application, I personally want to be a school administrator someday. Right now, I'm a science teacher, and I also am certified in health and physical education. But as a school administrator, I would like to be able to impact schools and students on a higher level. And one of the things I learned is that I am sort of fond of the transformational leadership style, and it really stood out to me a lot during my research in my leadership classes and my health education classes. What I learned was that transformational leaders attempt to foster constructive outcomes, better follower performance, and also to help increase workplace morale by capitalizing on enthusiasm that ultimately expands overall performance of students or workers or whoever is underneath that leader. I will strive to do a great job of setting clear and concise expectations in my classroom. And when I become a school administrator, I'm going to bring that. I'm going to try to bring about a high level of performance among my faculty. And then I will also provide support for my students and subordinates by creating lists of tasks for a visual reminder of what must be done each day to be the best educator possible. So the transformational leadership style really fits me well from what I have read and learned. Conclusion, the health and wellness focus of study that I was involved in, it was very interesting to me. It was very insightful. I learned a lot, and I'm very glad that I chose that path for my doctorate. My eyes were open to the growing problem of the obesity epidemic, which was sort of the center of my dissertation. And this led to the many topics that I studied during my dissertation and the literature review. As a health educator and a future school leader, I'm going to have the opportunity to be an agent for change for my students, colleagues, friends, and also family. The health and wellness of young people can be greatly influenced at an early age, and this influence can help combat chronic health issues like obesity. And finally, healthcare providers can use HIT as a valuable tool for improving overall health. And then lastly are the references for this PowerPoint.